One morning when I was in Sydney, I was feeling quite hungry, so I decided to go into a cafe, and I thought to myself, I really would like to have lasagna, but we'd been fasting and I thought that might be a little bit too heavy on an empty stomach, so instead I just ordered a cup of soup. While I was sitting at the table inside the cafe having the soup, I was thinking to myself, I wish this was lasagna. And then while I was sitting there, the lady came out from behind the counter and she put a container on the table in front of me. It was wrapped in a plastic bag, and she muttered something in a European language, then went back behind the counter again. So I opened it and it was lasagna, fresh, steaming hot. So I sat there thanking the Lord and enjoyed it. And then I thought, well, I better not eat too much of it. Might be a bit heavy on my stomach. So I decided to look for a homeless person outside and give it to him. So I walked outside, and right there at the entrance to the cafe I saw a man rummaging through a rubbish bin. So I assumed he must have been looking for food and might have been homeless, and I was just about to give the lasagna to him, and I felt the Lord say, stop, not him. Walk down the street, you'll find a pedestrian crossing. Across the road, around behind the building, is a park. In a park is a bench, and on the bench you'll find an Aboriginal man. Give it to him. So I took off down the street, and sure enough there was a pedestrian crossing. And while I was crossing over the road, I thought to myself, this is going to be a good test if I'm really hearing from God, because I wasn't familiar with the Sydney CBD at that time. I walked around behind the building across the road, and sure enough there was a park there, and right at the entrance to the park there was a park bench, and on the bench was an Aboriginal man, but he was asleep. So I went and I woke him up, and he woke up a bit startled, and I said, excuse me, I'm just wondering if you'd like to have some steaming hot fresh lasagna for free. And he said, oh yes, thanks. So he sat up at the bench and he enjoyed the lasagna. And while he was eating it, I thought to myself, he's probably not going to tell me to go away now if I start to tell him about Jesus. So I shared Jesus with him, and after he finished eating, I asked him, would you like to receive Jesus as your Lord and Saviour? And he said yes.